Meet the woman many are calling the modern-day Noah. While she might not have an ark to build, she has been busy constructing a plan, warning and preparing the church in Calgary for years about an imminent pandemic. And 4 years later, H1N1 is finally here.
Doctor that you heard from Health.
This is ground zero in Marg Pollon's quest. Dividing the city into quadrants, it's meetings like this one that keeps her going, as she invites church representatives to hear what they can do in their community as H1N1 spreads. And those that came today are listening.
I came because I saw the effects of a previous pandemic I was involved with in Toronto during SARS. And I see the value of the churches being mobilized to be a force of helping to bring people out of their isolation as a result.
Well, I'm getting more and more concerned, I guess, about the pandemic that's coming, and just wanted to know what more we could do at our church to prepare for that.
Bridges of Love, Marg's ministry, was birthed 6 years ago when she felt led to help connect the churches in her city with the communities around them. 2 years later, after having a discussion with a doctor, emergency preparedness became her main focus, explaining to pastors and their staff why it's important that the church work as a team and be prepared for a pandemic like H1N1.
I think on the most part, the local churches have not thought a great deal about emergency preparedness.
While we have all seen the faith community gather together to help emergency situations, Marg says preparing for a pandemic is totally different. And she would know. She's been preparing for one for years.
So it takes intentionality to know ahead of time who is our area of who we're going to care for. Because once people are sick, and it's harder to get them to go out and want to do this. So we have to meet people where they're at and say, okay, we know this little lady down the street that lives alone and might not have anybody looking in on her. We want to put a face to that name so that we're going to think about her when a disaster comes. And I think that's the relational part of it, is the bonus for the church, that they can get out there and meet their neighbors. And which part of the city do you
So Marg's plan is simple. Create a network of churches in each quadrant of the city, listing the resources each would be able to offer their community if the H1N1 pandemic took a turn for the worst. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But with over 500 churches in the Calgary area, she has contacted everyone. But to date, only 28 have signed on.
We're just saying, look at the resources that you already have in churches. All of them pretty much do something. And I've had churches, little ones, say, well, we're just small. We have an older congregation. What could we possibly do? And there's something for everybody. You know, you have elderly people that could be phoners. You have people that could go out and walk someone's dog who are ill. You have people that love children that could look after kids whose parents are ill. Others that love to cook, and churches that have state-of-the-art kitchens that could prepare food. And so it's nothing more than what you would do for your own family if they were sick. How would you look after them? And then look at your neighbors and say, how can we look after them? And show that love that, that we are famous for.
Love your neighbor as yourself.
That's right.
One person that is definitely on board Marg's makeshift ark is a man whose job it is to always be planning for the next pandemic. This is the hub of the Calgary Emergency Management Agency. It's here that Deputy Chief Sampson and a group of city agency representatives will converge if and when a pandemic hits. As Deputy Chief of CEMA, Tom's job is to make sure the city of Calgary is well managed in the case of an emergency. And you can bet he's been watching the spread of H1N1 very closely.
Well, we do have a comprehensive infectious disease management plan, which encompasses, of course, H1N1 in the event that it did get bad, and in fact, the severity increased, I guess is what we should say. We will be able to bring together, or else take apart, and work from different locations, people across the corporation in response to this that outbreak. Right.
But while he is always in preparation for the worst, when he met Marg a few months ago and heard about her desire to coordinate a church network that would help the city in the event of a pandemic, he was grateful to have her on board.
You see, the real key to a community responding well is actually not relying on your governmental agencies to get you through things, but understanding the need for not only the individuals in the community to respond, but organizations within the community to respond. And that's where Marg comes in. Faith-based group has coalesced together and brought together churches throughout the community that are prepared to step up, not just for H1N1, but almost any emergency. And you know what? The beauty of it is, I mean, Marg is just driven to get it going. And to be honest, it allows us to focus on some other things. Approached all the churches.
And he hasn't taken the role of the church lightly either.
Yep.
He says knowing the church is ready and waiting in an emergency is key. And he already knows where and how they can help.
They'll come into our operations section. So as we're looking at the community and sort of saying, okay, we have this problem, we're capable of being able to say, Marg, how many churches do you have that can help us in this area? And provide, through our public messaging, alternate locations where people can go to assistance, for assistance, in the event that they have no one to back them up. Should be warm.
And for Tom, having a number of safe places within the city is more than what he could ask for.
One of the beauties about the faith-based groups is they're really non-judgmental, right? It's just, we're here to help the community. And so you have to remember that within everybody's emergency plan around a pandemic, you should understand who your backup caregivers are. You know, if you're a single mom, single dad, or you're alone in Calgary, you should understand who you're going to call in the event that you need assistance. But there are some people that have no one to call. And in that case, they have the capacity, or they will have the capacity, is our hope, to fall back to the faith-based groups to provide them some support.